Welcome to the Dinar Daily, where we track the conversations and developments surrounding Iraq's financial landscape. Today, we're diving into a significant surge in online discussion, a level of intensity and community-wide curiosity that has become impossible to ignore. Across social media and financial forums, a singular question seems to be echoing. What exactly is happening behind the scenes with Iraq's economy and currency? This renewed, urgent interest isn't emerging from a vacuum. It's being fueled by a series of high-profile discussions from prominent online commentators, each bringing a distinct and often conflicting perspective to the table, leaving many to wonder what to make of the heightened chatter. This sudden spike in conversation seems to be revolving around two very different, almost opposing, sets of narratives. On one side, there's a current of pronounced optimism, and on the other, a series of stark, practical warnings. Viewers are finding themselves navigating between theories of large-scale financial shifts and sober reminders of legal and regulatory hurdles. This clash of viewpoints is creating a dynamic environment where hope and caution are in constant debate. It's this very tension that appears to be drawing so many people back into the conversation, with many looking for clarity on why the tone has become so urgent right now. At the center of the more optimistic discussions are reports on statements from commentator Frank 26, who has cultivated a significant following over the years. His focus has consistently been on Iraq's reform efforts and the potential he sees within them. Recently, the discussions he's been associated with have taken on a new dimension, sparking both excitement and controversy. These conversations are being interpreted by his followers as pointing towards significant, large-scale possibilities, and his energetic presentation style has amplified this message, capturing the attention of many who are hopeful about Iraq's long-term economic trajectory. A specific phrase has emerged from these discussions, one that is generating considerable buzz: the real Trump reset plan. According to online analysis of this concept, it appears to represent a belief held by some that major global financial alignments could be on the horizon. This speculative idea suggests that the return of certain political figures to the global stage, or a shift in their influence, could act as a catalyst for new economic trends. This theory, while highly speculative and not based on any official confirmation, has nonetheless spread rapidly across social media platforms. The power of this particular narrative seems to lie in its dramatic tone and the sense of hope it provides to those who subscribe to it. The idea that nations, including Iraq, might be part of a broader, international economic realignment is a compelling one. It taps into a desire for financial transformation and stability in an uncertain global environment. This narrative connects various public pieces of information into a broader story, one that suggests that seemingly routine reforms in Iraq might be part of a much larger, coordinated, and significant plan. However, it is critically important to understand that these ideas remain entirely within the realm of speculation. No official institution, government, or financial body has confirmed or even acknowledged such a reset plan. Analysts and observers from outside these specific online circles are quick to caution listeners against confusing these speculative theories with guaranteed outcomes or confirmed facts. The spread of this idea is more a reflection of the community's desire for change and the power of narrative than it is a confirmation of any official policy. Standing in stark contrast to this wave of optimism is the voice of another well-known commentator, Pimpy. He has consistently adopted a more cautious and grounded approach to the entire conversation, where some focus on potential future value. Pimpy has consistently drawn attention to the legal risks, regulatory realities, and taxation concerns that he believes many new to the topic failed to consider. His latest warnings have been particularly direct, focusing on an area that many find confusing: the tax implications of a foreign currency exchange. Pimpy's core message is a reminder that in most countries, including the United States, profits derived from exchanging foreign currency are treated by tax agencies as a taxable event. This means that if an individual were to profit from an increase in the Iraqi dinar's value, that profit would likely be subject to taxation, just like gains from stocks or other investments. He emphasizes that this applies regardless of the size of the profit, whether it's a modest gain or a significant one. His warnings have become more specific, highlighting the practical challenges that he foresees. He suggests that many individuals may be underestimating the complexity of the reporting process. According to his analysis, tax agencies would likely require detailed documentation, including proof of purchase, the exact date of acquisition, and a complete record of the transaction to calculate the gain. He paints a scenario where individuals who have held currency for years, perhaps without keeping meticulous records, could face significant bureaucratic and legal hurdles. The message from this cautious camp is straightforward. Do not get caught unprepared. Pimpy's advice centers on personal responsibility and preparation. He repeatedly urges his audience to get their documentation in order now, to safely store receipts, transaction emails, or any proof of purchase. He explains that even if no significant change in value ever occurs, having these records is simply good financial practice. His concern is that many are focused on a potential future event without realizing the immediate need to prepare for the legal and financial responsibilities that would accompany it. This clear difference in viewpoints has left the broader community in a familiar position, split between two powerful narratives. On one side, there is the palpable excitement generated by theories of large-scale economic resets and sudden, transformative shifts in financial structures. This perspective is fueled by hope and an optimistic reading of global events. On the other side, a significant group emphasizes realism, risk management, and careful, practical planning. This group is more focused on the how rather than the when, prioritizing legal and financial preparedness above all else. This division is not new, but the current intensity has brought it back to the forefront. The truth is, the conversation around the Iraqi dinar has always been a blend of detailed analysis, hopeful speculation, and genuine concern. The global audience for this topic is incredibly diverse, encompassing everyday workers, retirees, entrepreneurs, and investors from dozens of countries. What unites them is a shared interest in Iraq's financial future. This diversity is why the debates spark such strong emotional reactions. The idea of a major economic event that could positively impact lives is inherently powerful, and it's what keeps many engaged. At the same time, the community is constantly reminded, both by cautious voices and by objective reality, that speculation is not the same as evidence. Ultimately, it is official institutions and central banks, not online commentators, that determine and implement monetary policy. This fact remains the bedrock against which all theories must be measured. To understand why these conversations are gaining so much traction now, we must look at the factual backdrop of Iraq's own financial progress. Over the past several years, Iraq has been engaged in a slow but steady process of modernizing its financial infrastructure. This has involved significant work on upgrading its banking systems, expanding the adoption of digital payments, and tightening its compliance standards to align with international financial regulators. These improvements are not just routine maintenance. They are fundamental to building credibility on the world stage. Many analysts agree that for Iraq to achieve its long-term economic goals, it must first demonstrate stability, transparency, and the capacity to operate a modern, compliant banking system. While official announcements from Iraq's central authorities are typically careful, measured, and focused on immediate technical goals, observers in the community analyze every single update for deeper meaning. For example, when the Central Bank of Iraq announces an increase in its foreign currency reserves, strengthens its anti-corruption protocols, or partners with international firms to upgrade banking technology, these steps are immediately interpreted by the community. Some view these reforms as routine steps any developing nation must take. Others, however, view them as the foundational building blocks for a much stronger and more independent economic future, possibly paving the way for long-term currency strengthening. This brings us back to the interpretations offered by commentators like Frank 26. His followers and those who share his optimistic viewpoint often see these reforms as part of a deliberate, structured plan. They interpret the steady progress as evidence that Iraq is moving through specific phases of a larger strategy. In this narrative, the relative silence from some officials isn't seen as a sign of delay, but rather as an indication of careful preparation for significant steps that are happening behind the scenes, away from public view. This perspective is compelling to many because it connects the dots between seemingly unrelated public announcements. A banking reform here, a compliance update there, and weaves them into a grander narrative of potential. It's important to remember, as we've noted, that these conclusions are interpretations, not official confirmations. The influence of this viewpoint, however, is undeniable, and its connection to broader geopolitical theories like the Reset Plan has only increased curiosity. On the other side, Pimpy's grounded analysis focuses intensely on the concrete, personal responsibilities of holding a foreign asset. His repeated warnings about capital gains taxes are a key example. He explains that tax law is notoriously complex and that in the eyes of the government, a speculative asset is often treated just like any other investment. If it's bought at one price and exchanged at a higher one, the resulting profit is generally considered income that must be reported. His concern, as he's expressed it, is that many in the community may be operating under false assumptions. Perhaps they believe that holding physical currency exempts them from reporting, or that the process will be simple and straightforward. Pimpy's message is a strong counter to this, warning that a lack of receipts or proper documentation could turn a positive event into a legal and financial nightmare. He consistently encourages listeners to consult with qualified tax professionals in their own countries to understand their specific obligations. The renewed discussion about a potential reset tied to political shifts is a recurring theme in this community, often surfacing during times of global financial instability or major elections. The year 2025, with its own set of economic pressures, inflation concerns, and international debates about currency strength, has created fertile ground for such theories. In this environment, narratives connecting political figures to sweeping economic changes spread very easily. To be perfectly clear, no government or official body has publicly confirmed any such plan. These ideas are born from interpretations that connect global trends with a deep, sated hope for economic revival, particularly in nations facing monetary challenges. The reason these theories resonate so powerfully is that they offer a sense of order and control, suggesting that powerful figures may be working to implement a plan for stability during unpredictable times. As these differing narratives grow, the Dinar community online has become a hive of activity. Social media platforms, dedicated forums, and live stream channels are filled with members debating every scrap of news. Some participants dedicate their time to analyzing Iraqi parliamentary meetings, while others track oil production data or movements in U.S. monetary policy. This diversity of focus is what keeps the conversation alive, even during periods when official news from Iraq is slow. It's this backdrop of real, long-term potential that gives the entire conversation its staying power. Iraq possesses some of the largest proven oil reserves in the world, a large and young population, and a strategic geographic location. These are undeniable assets that provide a genuine pathway for significant economic growth. The central question has never been if Iraq can grow, but rather how quickly and efficiently it can modernize its systems, ensure stability, and attract the international investment it needs. This is why new members are drawn to the community every month. They often arrive unaware of the decades-long history of these debates and are immediately confronted with the two dominant perspectives. They ask the same fundamental questions: is a change imminent? Is there a global reset happening? And critically, what are the tax implications? These repeating questions reflect a genuine desire for clarity and a fear of making a financial mistake in an already complex environment. Ultimately, we must also consider the operational reality of central banks. These institutions, whether in Iraq or any other nation, prioritize stability above all else. They move methodically, carefully, and almost always quietly. Major monetary policy shifts are planned internally, long before they are ever announced to the public. This is done to prevent market instability and panic. This reality stands in stark contrast to the online excitement, where interpretations of indirect signals are often presented as imminent certainties. In conclusion, as we move through 2025, the community finds itself at a familiar crossroads, navigating the channel between hopeful, optimistic predictions and stark, cautious warnings. The discussions surrounding speculative reset plans and the practical realities of tax law highlight this perfectly. The smart approach, as always, is not to choose one side and ignore the other, but to remain informed, balanced, and prepared. Optimism can provide motivation, but caution provides protection. Your responsibility is to absorb all information, critically separate fact from opinion, and make choices that best protect your own financial future.